Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on September 7th, 2021, 6 p.m. At this point, if I could have the clerk call the roll, please.
Becker.
Here.
O'Flaherty.
Here.
Pena Graham.
Here.
Stoker.
Here.
Wright. Maxwell. Vice Chair McMahon.
Here.
We have a quorum.
At this point in the meeting, I would ask for an approval of the agenda and any additions and deletions.
I make a motion to approve as written.
Motion by Trixie O'Flaherty, second.
Second.
Second by Stoker. The agenda is approved.
I need a voice vote on that,
Okay. Can we call the roll for a voice vote?
or just all those in,
All those in favor of accepting the agenda tonight without any additions or deletions, say aye.
aye?
Aye.
The same, say a sign. The motion passes. And at this point, I need to have an approval, motion for the approval of the minutes from last meeting.
I move minutes be approved as written.
We have a motion on the floor from Becker. Second.
I second.
Seconded by O'Flaherty. And all in favor of accepting the minutes as written, say aye.
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 And all opposed, say a sign. Okay, the minutes are approved from last time. At this point of the meeting, we come to the part for public participation. This is public participation part of the meeting, which items that are not on the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time or come to the podium? State your name and address if so. Seeing none, we will go ahead and proceed to the public hearing portion of the meeting. I'm going to open the public hearing on this day of September 7th, 6:02 p.m. I need to ask the applicant to come to the podium and speak regarding this item that they have there for their name and address. The public hearing is a petition from Adventure Works of DeKalb County, Inc. for the approval of a zoning map amendment from the SFR2 Single Family Residential District to the PDR Planned Development Residential District for the property located at 1221 Sycamore Road, amended to the ordinance 2018-068, and other approvals as required for the subject property to allow the expansion of the petitioner's outdoor activities area along Sycamore Road.
Thank you. I'm Katie Watts. I'm the Executive Director for AdventureWorks. And AdventureWorks is a for-purpose, nationally accredited, community-based outdoor behavioral health care organization providing services to youth and their families in DeKalb County. Creating opportunity through experiences, AdventureWorks is active and involved with the community, getting kids off the couch and away from the screen, teaching and counseling through adventure. We offer several services such as individual and family counseling, Little Adventures, which is a kindergarten readiness program, group programming, social programming, school programming, and business partnership services. So we seek to expand our activities to the vacant lot, which is just next door to our property, in order to offer more experiences and opportunities to our clientele and community. There's the expansion that we're doing. We're not building anything on that property as of now. We have a low ropes challenge course on the property right next to this vacant space, which we might expand those low ropes options, but otherwise it's open right now for group activities, group games, green space, and other therapeutic programming just as needed, just to continue the work that we already are doing in the community.
Okay, thank you. City staff, could you make your presentation?
Yeah, there's a, thank you. There's a staff report in your packet. I'll just kind of follow up with what the petitioner noted. This aerial shows it probably the best. Currently, AdventureWorks is located in this former home here. They expanded a couple years ago to this vacant lot here and added some of the outdoor activities areas. That was in 2018. The zoning's planned development residential. They purchased there used to be a house on this. The aerial still shows it's a couple years old, but it was a rundown home. They purchased a lot, demolished the home. which was certainly needed, and that was in 2019. And then what they'd like to do, as Katie mentioned, is expand their outdoor activity area to that vacant lot, and then amend the ordinance from 2018 to encompass all the 3 parcels under the Planned Development Residential Ordinance, PDR zoning for all 3 of those. That's the vacant lot there, image of it. A few months ago, they did put up a split rail fence around it to put a little barrier buffer between that and Sycamore Road. That's the current lot next to the home that has the outdoor activities on it. They added a 6-foot-high privacy fence in the back too a few months ago. The ordinance from 2018 does restrict the uses to the counseling center and accessory uses. There was a apartment building on the upper level back in 2018. Since that time, they've taken that out and added additional storage and office space, so that apartment unit is not there anymore, and they don't wish to reestablish that dwelling unit, the petitioner indicated. So part of the motion, it's up to the commission, but part of the motion was to take that, the ordinance from 2018 allowed that apartment to continue. They've taken it out. They don't want to reestablish it, so my recommendation is just to take that out of the ordinance for any type of dwelling unit on the property. If there's some change down the road, they can come back and amend the ordinance. The parking, there is a parking lot behind of course, the main building. Let's go back to the aerial here. Back here, of course, behind there are 12 standard spaces and 1 handicap space. In 2018, we actually did a little cleanup there where we had them stripe the parking, relocate the handicap space, it's one way in here, an exit the south side of the building. So we had them clear that up at the time with appropriate signage so the traffic flows a little better through the site. So there's 12 standard, 1 handicap space. There's about a little over 2,700 square feet of office space in the building. That's a gross floor area. That equates to about 9 required parking spaces. Petitioner noted there's about 7 employees there on average. So with 13 parking, there's adequate parking. The addition of the vacant lot with the outdoor activities area will not add any additional impact, we believe, to the parking situation. So there is adequate parking on the site. One waiver to the UDO, and that's planned development under 2 acres. The vacant lot's 0.17 acres. If you combine all 3 lots, it's 1.15 acres. But we feel this is justified. We've approved this waiver in other locations several times, so that's the only waiver to the UDO that's requested. We have the zoning map standards for rezoning. Comp plan recommends low-density residential. So it still fits in with the area. You have residential around there. Actually, the plan development ordinance does require that the structure on the site maintain a residential look to it. So that's still required. Single family to the west and south. You have the Kishwaukee Water Reclamation District plant to the north. Residential right across the street, and the Jewel a little bit further north there. So you can have a mix in the area as you go north to some more commercial. We feel it fits within the area. The expansion makes sense. They're just coordinating with the rest of their development. All the adequate utilities are already in place. Parking is adequate, as well as access. Public input, we did receive a couple of citizen response forms based on the letters that were sent out to property owners within 250 feet. We did receive a letter of support from the Kishwaukee Water Reclamation District just north of the site, indicating support. We did receive a response from George Potter, 724 Kirpin Court. That's indicated here in the red. That's his lot here. He noted and a copy is provided that the noted concern about parking on Kirpin Court. Apparently during the open house they had and ribbon cutting in the chamber in July, there was obviously a lot of people there and they used Kirpin Court to park. Unfortunately, I guess one of the cars blocked his mailbox, but that was a one-time event. I did check with the police department. They have not received any complaints regarding parking on that street as it relates to Adventure Works. So those are only 2 comments that we did receive. In conclusion, we're recommending approval of the rezoning of the vacant lot to PDR and then amendment to the 2018 ordinance to encompass all the 3 parcels within those plan development regulations. And then except the allowance for a dwelling unit shall be removed. So that's in the sample motion 2, which is prepared in your staff report. So we think it's appropriate rezoning. VentureWorks has been an asset to the community, and expansion of their service will be a benefit to their clientele. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. All right, at this point, I'm going to ask if there's anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item. If so, please come to the podium and state your name and address before you speak. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this item? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to, at this point, close the public hearing and open it up for discussion amongst the commission. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Watts?
I think it's a great use of the lot.
Oh.
It makes the most sense. This is probably the best use of that space that there would be to add to your facility. It's a unusual shape, unusual spot, and I think this is the best possible outcome for it, and it gives you space that you need, so.
I think it is too. I think back in the day when they widened Sycamore Road all those years ago, there were houses that just they were still there, but they weren't really. That house that was there for many, many years was right up the road. So I think it's much better use than what you're doing here. And for really anybody else that I would know of, there's no other value of that lot. So I think it's great that you bought it and you invested in our community and you're investing in our youth. So I'm in favor of what you're gonna do. Okay. All right. Any further discussion on this item from the commission? So at this point, then, I'm going to ask for a motion by one of the members.
I'll make the motion.
Go ahead.
Based upon the submitted petition and testimony presented, I move the Planning and Zoning Commission forward its findings of fact and recommend to the City Council approval of the rezoning of the property located at 1221 Sycamore Road from the SFR-2 Single Family Residential District to the PD-R Planned Development Residential District. Approval of a waiver to the UDO to allow a planned development under 2 acres, and approval of the incorporation of the subject property into the regulations of ordinance 2018-068, except the allowance for a dwelling unit shall be removed.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from O'Flaherty. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, is there any discussion to have before we vote? If there's no discussion, I'm going to ask for the clerk to call the roll.
Becker,
Yes.
O'Flaherty,
Yes.
Pena Graham,
Yes.
Stoker,
Yes.
Wright, Maxwell, Vice Chair McMahon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Congratulations. Okay. All right, the next item on our agenda under new business is a preliminary and final plat of subdivision. We're looking for the approval of a preliminary and final plat of the CST subdivision, Harvester Drive, CST Inc. All right. So if you could come to the podium and state your name and your address and give your presentation.
Hello, my name is Jeff Miller. I lead CST Industries globally, headquartered in Kansas City, Missouri, largest manufacturing plant and probably most important here in DeKalb, Illinois, and I live just across the border in Wisconsin, where I've lived my whole life. The CST Industries is the largest global manufacturer of storage tanks, domes, covers, and really what we make in DeKalb produces DeKalb produces all the glass line tanks that you see really around North America and throughout much of the Middle East that are that blue glass. And the difference between what we make in DeKalb and what is made everywhere else in the world is the quality, the chemical resistance, and the overall durability of the glass that we make here. It's been made in DeKalb for 50-plus years. Many states, such as North Dakota, South Dakota, store 100% of their drinking water in our tanks, a series and networks of hundreds and hundreds of tanks. We have produced out of the facility in DeKalb more than 100,000 tanks over the years. However, we have a 60-acre site, approximately 59.6 acres, I think, to be precise, and there is a piece of what I would call vacant land of approximately 12 acres south of our site that we simply have not used, and in my opinion, have not necessarily done anything with over the years. We are routinely approached by local businesses looking to grow and expand into a larger site and have access to the local infrastructure, local freeways, et cetera. And at this point, coming in as a new CEO to the company back in October, after receiving several calls, have decided it really is, I think in the best interest of DeKalb, in the best interest of CST Industries, and in the best interest of just, properly utilizing investment industrial land that has great sewer, great water, is well designed, well laid out, and good freeway access appropriately. And thus, we are requesting that this board approve subdividing it into 3 parcels. The parcel to the far left, which we're just calling Lot 1, is 2 acres and a little bit of change. We have a current leaser that loves that property and has approached us on many occasions. Then Lot 2 would be a larger parcel, slightly over 8 acres, that would, we've also had approaches on. And Lot 3, we would keep and maintain for use by the group as a water retention area. It's currently the water retention area, although it's been dry the entire time I've been here. And I've not seen water in that area, but we believe that, given that all the drainage from the area does go through there when you get a heavy storm, it should be kept and maintained as a retention area. And I think that was Dan's comment to me the first time I saw, call it an email back from the city planning, keep that as retention and make it a separate plot of land. Now, one of the other comments back on the plot of land was that we use only right angles or orthogonal cuts. And we did take that into account as we tried to lay this out on Lot 2, but we needed to maintain one diagonal line through there because the red line between Lot 1 and 2 is a main access and egress for all of the properties. But then from the northernmost point where the arrow is on the chart, all the way over to the southernmost point of our building, which is roughly where Lot 3 and Lot 2 interact on the north side. So if you can go to the right, and down to where the 3 lines intersect, right there is an entrance to our building for all of our sheet steel. So we really do have a very smooth, call it drive, that must occur routinely along that line, and there's mostly storage to the north of it. We also, in discussing this with potential suitors of Lot 2, have been told that, if they decide to build a relatively large structure on Lot 2, that triangular section would be good for truck access, would be good for parking and many other things, and allow them a more conventional, kind of square type structure within the confines and limits of Lot 2. And therefore, the back and forth we've had has really brought us, I think, both with the quality inputs from the Planning Commission, as well as from potential acquirers, has brought us to this point. Now, you'll see that, on the northern part of the property, we have very adequate storage for all of our associates. There's hundreds of spaces, as well as, an additional retention pond to the west, which we will continue to own, maintain, and keep on the CST site, and have done so for the last, 50-plus years. And thus, I think, we're not really looking to change any of the DNA of the site or the zoning, et cetera, but we do believe that it will be best for CST, best for another company, and and likely best for DeKalb to utilize this land as opposed to just having the flat concrete covered land sit there growing weeds, honestly. So,
Thank you, sir. Does the city staff has a presentation to make on this?
Yeah, a brief memo, follow-up from what Jeff has indicated. So in this aerial, try to overlay the proposed lot lines on the aerial, just to give a little indication of the lot configuration, lot sizes. So as Jeff mentioned, Lot 1, here, 2.85 acres, Lot 2, a little over 9 acres, and Lot 3 is the stormwater detention area, low area on the site, has been, as you can see, and now just showing some of the street view of the property. Hasn't been used for quite a while. So they approached the city, wanted to do a subdivision plat, so they could sell off the 2 lots in the future. So what we look for in terms of the lot configuration, easements too is also important. So we do, if plat's kind of hard to see, but there is a 50-foot ingress, egress easement shown on the plat that covers this road here, as you can see. And that 50-foot wide easement goes right down the existing private drive right between the proposed Lot 1 and 2. That will allow the access for, when these are sold, 2 lots, will still allow access for CST to use this access to their building. There's also a 15-foot private sanitary sewer easement proposed along the west side of the subdivision that covers an existing private sanitary line that runs roughly where the road is. So we've shared this with the Kishwaukee Water Reclamation District. So that's a private easement. They've added language to the plat on sheet 2 to cover that, again, for access for the district and the CST. Over to the east side of the site, there is a private water line, too, that goes from Harvester, doesn't show on this, but Harvester to the building. That easement language needs to be modified a little bit or changed so it's a benefit of CST Industries and not the city. It is a private service, so CST wants to maintain rights to maintain that and go over the property lines when they sell it to maintain the private water service. And then Lot 3, of course, is stormwater detention basin, and there's easement language over there regarding maintenance and sharing of that. So that language is fine. So staff's reviewed this, city engineer, sanitary district. Just a few minor comments remain. They just have to revise their easement language regarding the water service line. So I prepared a sample motion that recommends approval of the preliminary and final plat dated 9/1/21, and that's Exhibit A, subject to all staff comments being addressed prior to recording of the plat.
All right, thank you, Dan. So now at this point, I can open up to discussion amongst the commissioners. Is there any discussion, questions for Jeff, questions for Dan?
Not so much a question, just as a comment. I think the most important responsibility that we have as a commission is to provide for best use of a property.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at your proposal, it reflects that, in my opinion. I like the idea of the potential for bringing more industrial commercial commerce. I like the fact that you're retaining Zone 3 for water retention.
Mm-hmm.
Given the nature of our ground, it could be dry for 3 years and then suddenly, so I think that's foresight, and I appreciate that. I like the proposal. I think it's, I would really love to have seen you expand even further, but it sounds like you're pretty well entrenched where you are and that this is a property that you see better use for.
well, the interesting thing is this plant had 2 glass lines inside that were slightly different, and technologies have improved. We are now in the process of trying to do an additional production within the facility to use the entire 500,000 square feet effectively. And I would like to double the 130 employees that I have here. And given that ultimately I can drive here from my house, even as the CEO of a Kansas City-based company, I'm in DeKalb more than 50% of the time now. And since then, since arriving, we've invested more than $2 million just in the last 8 months into the facility. And we'll be investing considerably more that will create jobs. mean, you certainly can have more than 130 people working in a 500,000 square foot facility. And I think, you know, when you look at the importance of our products to the food industry, the water storage industry, just the waste management. Our glass tanks now handle most of the leachate in North America. So when somebody pumps water into the ground around an old, call it waste dump, and collects the water, because they don't know what's in that water, they can't put it in a concrete tank, they can't put it in much of anything other than a glass-lined tank. And making all of those bolted tanks into DeKalb, we now are helping to clean up a lot of the brown fields and a lot of the, you know, challenge sites around the globe. And it really is, you know, growing and expanding business place for us. It's cool.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Any other questions? I have a basic question, so, you know, maybe it's for Dan, maybe it's for Jeff. So we're doing this flat subdivision here, so that you have the opportunity to sell off lot 1 and lot 2?
Correct.
And then, so in lot 1, you probably have, like, the people that are leasing it, they're interested in buying it?
They have expressed interest, yes.
Okay, and then lot 2, they've had some interest, but nobody concrete yet.
We have a couple parties who have approached us, one of which has expressed interest in buying both pieces together. We have not started any discussions on, you know, call it cost or what have you, but have shared some of the preliminary diagrams, et cetera, with those
Okay.
buyers.
And then lot 3 would just remain with CST and?
Correct.
Okay. So you're doing this basically because you have an asset that you're not using, and maybe you could sell it off and rent it off, or, okay.
And really, you know, to just let it grow weeds for the last, you know, 30 years is not a good use of anyone's asset.
No, it'll look nice with something there. If
Exactly.
someone does buy it, it'll be really nice for DeKalb.
Yeah, I've been here for 30 years, and I don't think I've ever seen the back part of that lot, the south part of that lot, used, and it's, maybe back in the day when they built it, when it was, but yeah, so I think it's good. Okay, is there any other questions? Seeing none, I'm gonna ask for a motion
I'll
on
make
this.
the motion.
Okay, we have a motion, go
I
ahead.
move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the preliminary and final plat of CST subdivision, 2 sheets, dated 9/1/21, prepared by Jade Hanna Surveyors, as shown on Exhibit A, subject to all staff comments being adequately addressed prior to the recording of the plat.
We have a motion on the floor from Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second of the motion by Stoker. Can the clerk call the roll?
Becker,
Yes.
O'Flaherty,
Yes.
Pena Graham,
Yes.
Stoker,
Yes.
Wright, Maxwell, Vice Chair McMahon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jeff.
Good luck with the sale.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Okay, at this point in the meeting, I'll ask for a staff report.
Just briefly, next meeting scheduled for September 20th. No public hearings yet, so unless a plat comes in, we'll cancel that. We'll let you know the Thursday before. Meetings in October, the 4th and 18th. October 18th, if we do have a meeting, that's going to be at the police department.
Okay.
So we'll let you know certainly ahead of time on that. Last city council, August 23rd, had a couple items that went through the commission. Those were approved unanimous level. The 1221 West Lincoln Highway with the Fatties expansion across the street, and also the plat, of course, for the Project Barb on Gurler Road by Ferrer was approved also.
Okay. All right.
That is all.
That's
When do we
all?
get to find out about Project Barb?
I will let you know when I know.
Oh, okay.
Probably be in the paper, hopefully with the
It was,
next few weeks.
Okay.
yeah.
There's lots of
Last time it was,
speculation.
last time it was a month, now it's gonna be 2 weeks. All right, is there?
It's their call.
Anything from the commission that they have, anything to report? Anything to report besides curiosity from Project Barb? All right, if there is nothing to report there, I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
We have a move, the motion is moved to adjourn the meeting by Pena Graham. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by O'Flaherty. And then on this one, we do a voice vote. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, say sign.
So if I say nay, it's 1-1, does that mean? Aye. To adjourn.
I'm assuming that passed, so we're going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.